Welcome, artists. This lesson is all about filters, and this is a fun one. Let's get started. We're going to go to File, Open. We're going to be going to the Digital Image Archive again, and we're going to go into that same folder, the Nature folder. So Courses, Art, Digital Image Archive, Nature, and we're going to open up this file here called IMG 2843. Should be a picture of some lilacs. Let's save this in our Lessons folder, File, Save As, saving it in the cloud, in our Lessons folder as Filters, with your first name, of course. All right, let's get started. Before we start adding any filters here, we're going to use our marquee selection tool to just basically break up this image and put a filter on different sections of it so you can kind of get a feel for what all the filters do. We can experiment and play. You're going to have a lot of fun today. So find your marquee selection up at the top, and we're going to make this a fixed size. By default, it should be set to normal, but we're going to go ahead and go to fixed size, and we're going to make it 8 by 8 inches. So in other words, when I click, I'm going to be making a border that is 8 by 8 inches. So all you have to do is come into your image window and click, and you should get a marching ants border. If you click inside that, move it up to your top left-hand corner. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started with our filters. So we're going to start first by going to Filter, and we're going to open up the Filter Gallery, which is up here. And it's going to open up all these different sections. So you're going to see there are several different types of groupings of filters. So we have artistic filters, brush strokes, distort, sketch, styles. So we're going to kind of go through all of these, okay? So let's start by clicking on the artistic folder. So click the arrow that's next to it, and it's going to open up all of these different options. So you'll see you have different varying, what I would consider more artistic. So they're going to apply things that look like they're made with art. So you're going to have like paint dabs, rough pastels. If you want to zoom out so you can see a little bit more of how that would look. You do have options for fine tuning it, so you can make it bigger, more or less, adding more texture, taking less texture out. So you do have some commands. But go ahead. Plastic wrap is kind of a fun one. Everybody kind of likes that. Go ahead and click on one of those. Fine tune your changes and click OK. All right, now with this marquee tool still selected, we're just going to click on the inside. We're going to drag that marquee selection over just to the right of the area that we just did. And I want you to apply another one of those artistic filters. We're still in the artistic folder, so again, I don't care which one you click, and fine tune it and click OK. So stop the video. You're going to do that until you get all the way across the top, applying filters from the artistic photo gallery so you get a feel for what those are like. All right, stop the video and do that now. All right, now we're going to move down and we're going to get into the next section of filters. So we're going to move that square all the way down to the right, and you'll notice it kind of snaps if you have your smart guides on. So now we're going to go to Filter, back to Filter Gallery. This time, instead of the artistic folder, we're going to go to the brushstroke folder. So I'm going to close the artistic one. Brushstroke is less like a paintbrush and more like a drawing media. So you can kind of see some here. Kind of, again, play around with those, play around with your dials, have some fun with those. You can even really get crazy in here. You'll notice some of these effects are going to be affected by whatever your foreground color is. So keep that in mind. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead, pick one, and click OK. And then again, I'm going to keep moving that over. We're going to stay in that same section. We're going to stay in the brush strokes. I want you to just experiment with the brush strokes one, applying brush stroke filters all the way across in your second row. So go ahead and stop the video and do that now. All right, now we're going to go on to the next step. So you can kind of know where we're going. So I'm going to move that down. This time I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery. We're no longer in the brush strokes. We're going to go to the Distort filters. So we're going to try these three. There's only 3 of them in here. So again, try the Diffuse Glow on the first square. Play around with that. Stop the video. Move it over. Go back to your Filter Gallery. Try the glass one, play around with that. You can even change the texture. Do I want canvas glass? Do I want a tiny lens glass? Play around with that, move it over. There's only 3 of them in here, so you're only doing 3 squares this time. Change your kind of ripple. Stop the video. Do all of those distortion filters now. All right, we're down to row 4. As you guessed, this time, we're going to go into our sketch filters. Now, I want to show you something really important with the sketch filters. So as you can see here, everything looks black and white. Okay? It basically only works with your foreground color and your background color. So whatever your foreground color is, that's what is going to show up as your black, and whatever your background color is, what's going to show up is on the white. So let me cancel that. I'm going to show you. So if I know I want to work with maybe like purples and blues, so I'm going to set my foreground color to purple. Oops. Oops. Come on. So I know I want to work with purples and blues, okay? Now if I go up to my filter gallery, if I go to those sketch filters and I click on them, notice it's working with the 2 colors that I gave the computer. The only one that doesn't is obviously Chrome is going to switch you to black and white, but the other ones, however, are going to use, and water paper is another one, but the rest of them are all going to use those colors that you use for this, that you set. So you can go ahead and move those. You can change your colors. So go ahead and apply at least 4 of these sketch filters. All right, moving down, we're gonna move our marquee down. We're getting through these. All right, you guessed it, we're back in the filter gallery again. Now we're in stylize. There's only one in stylize, which is your glowing edges. So you can play around with glowing edges and go ahead and click OK. All right, move that over. So now that, because there's only one in that section, I want to show you some other distortions in here, and this is where it's going to get really fun. People love this one. So we're going to go to filter, but we're not going to the filter gallery. In this instance, we're actually going to go to liquify. So if you go to filter, and then go to liquify. What liquify does is it kind of it distorts the pixels. So you can do, there's a couple of different options here. I'm going to show you 3, but you can feel free to play around with these as much as you want. This liquify filter is actually what a lot of photo editors will use in fashion. It's how they make areas of people bigger and areas of people smaller. So they suck in the arms and the cheekbones and all those things. They make the eyes a little bit bigger, but I'll show you how this works. So you've got the pucker. So if I grab the pucker, and I can change the size of my brush over here, I can make it bigger or smaller. What pucker does is if I click and hold, it's going to shrink everything in. So that's like, you want to make somebody look thinner, you would shrink it in. If I click on bloat, it does the exact opposite. So bloat will go, so it's going to make things bigger. So if I wanted to make somebody's eyes appear bigger, I'm just changing my brush size here. It's going to make it bigger, all right? So that's your pucker and your bloat. And then the last one I want to show you, and again, you can, with your time today, you can kind of play around with some of the other ones, but you've got the forward warp tool. And what that does is it acts just like the icon shows. It's kind of like you're smearing. So if I come over, I just smear. This is your liquify, and then click OK. So stop the video, try the liquify filter. All right, we're going to do a couple more distort filters just because we have the time and we're in this section. So let's move our marquee over, and we're going to go to filter. And instead of going to the filter gallery, we're going to go down to the distort section under filter. And you're going to see you've got several different options. All of these work similar to that liquify, but you don't have as much freedom. So for instance, if I pick twirl, it's going to spin it. So you can kind of see how that works. If I move it over and I go back to that distort, again, we're in the distort folder, I can go to pinch. Pinch is kind of going to do, it's kind of the liquify filter, but it's just doing specific parts of that liquify filter. So stop the video, and I want you to apply 2 distortion filters after that liquify filter. All right, now we're on our last row, so we're going to go ahead and move our box down. We're going to go to filter. We're going back to the filter gallery. We've got one last section, which is our texture. So what I want you to do is we have 4 more boxes. I want you to apply 4 different textures using the texture filter by moving that marquee over. Oops, filter gallery. I do want to point out the stained glass one. Notice what the stained glass says is, again, it takes your whatever your foreground color is. So if I don't like the green lines, let's say I wanted it to be black lines or dark green lines. Now if I went back to that filter gallery and went to my stained glass, it's going to use that color in between. All right, so stop the video and apply 4 of your texture filters now. All right, and that's it. We're done. That's filters. That's a quick once over, but they're fun with the rest of the hour that you have left. Just play around. Have some fun with filters.